be speaking from chapter 1. It is going to be entitled Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. And we are going to be speaking from verse number 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we start with the invocation. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana-jana-shalakaya Chakshur-unmilitam yena Tasmai Shri-Gurave Namaha Shri-Chaitanya Vishnu Savitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Pranayam Dadati Svabhadatitam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopinatha Radha Namostute Saptakandana Gaurati Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwapanu Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Vipasindhubhya ekacha Patitanam-pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhakta. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. So text number 11, chapter 1. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu Yatha bhagavamastita Vishvameva vivakshantu Bhavanta sarvakevahi Ayaneshu cha sarveshu Yatha bhagavamastita Vishvameva vivakshantu Bhavanta sarvakevahi Ayaneshu cha sarveshu Yatha bhagavamastita Vishvameva vivakshantu Bhavanta sarvakevahi
Ayaneshu cha sarveshu
Yatha
bhagam avastita Vishvameva virakshantu Bhavanote sarva eva
Bhavanta sarvakevahi
Ayaneshu cha sarveshu
Yatha bhagam avastita
Yatha bhagam avastita
Vishmadewa Vinakshatu Bhavanta Sarva Evani Ayaneshu Cha Sarveshu Yatha Bhagam Avastita Vishmadewa Vinakshatu Bhavanta Sarva Evani Ayaneshu Cha Sarveshu Yatha Bhagam Avastita Vishmadewa Vinakshatu Bhavanta Sarva Evani Ayaneshu Cha Sarveshu Yatha Bhagam Avastita Vishmadewa Vinakshatu Bhavanta Sarva Evani Ayaneshu Cha Sarveshu Yatha Bhagam Avastita Vishmadewa Vinakshatu Bhavanta Sarva Evani. Word for word translation. Ayaneshu in the strategic points. Cha also. Sarveshu everywhere. Yatha Bhagam as differently arranged. Avastita situated. Bhishma or to grandfather Bhishma. Eva certainly. Avirakshantu should give support. Bhavanta you. Sarve all respectively. Eva ye certainly. Translation delivered by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. All of you must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. Please repeat after me. All of you must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. Perfect. Duryodhana, after praising the prowess of Bhishma, further considered that others might think that they have been considered less important. So, in his usual diplomatic way, he tried to adjust the situation with the above words. He emphasized that Bhishmadev was undoubtedly the greatest hero, but he was an old man, so everyone must especially think of his protection from all sides. He might become engaged in the fight, and the enemy might take advantage of his full engagement on one side. Therefore, it was important that other heroes not give their strategic positions, and allow the enemy to break the phalanx. Duryodhana really felt that the victory of the Guru depended on the presence of Bhishmadev. He was confident on the full support of Bhishmadev and Dronacharya in the battle because he well knew that they did not even speak a word when Arjuna's wife Draupadi, in her helpless condition, had appealed to them for justice while she was being forced to appear naked in the presence of all the great generals in the assembly. Although he knew that the two generals had some sort of affection for the Pandavas, he hoped that these generals would now completely give it up as they had done during the gambling performances. Ayaneshu Cha Sarveshu Yatha Bhagam Avastita Vishmadewa Vinakshatu Bhavanta Sarva Evani. So this is now Duryodhana's last verse that he is speaking. So we have seen Duryodhana's words where he started from speaking from 1.3 and now it's ending at 1.11. Now in this final verse, we see the full range of his diplomatic self. Now in the previous verse, he gave a lot of attention to Bhishma because he was thinking that before that I was speaking only to Dronacharya and giving him a lot of respect. So what if Bhishma Dev is listening to this and he is feeling inferior? So he basically says the last stroke, what we read yesterday, in 1.10, that he compared that our army is carefully protected by Bhishma Dev. So when he says that, what is Duryodhana saying is that Bhishma Dev is central. He is our commander-in-chief. If we want to gain any sort of victory, it is based on the expertise of Bhishma Dev. And up to this point, Bhishma Dev had never been defeated in his life. He was always victorious. He has fought many battles, the most famous of which was when he fought Parshuram, Lord Parshuram. And they fought for 28 days consecutively. And it was a draw. Parshuram could not defeat his own student, Bhishma. And Bhishma showed so much prowess. And so we see that Bhishma Dev is a very accomplished general. And so Duryodhana was so confident in Bhishma Dev's ability that even if his presence is just there, if his presence is just maintained, it is as good as them winning the war. Because he has never suffered defeat in his life. And he was also confident because Bhishma Dev had never spoken up against the Kauravas in that episode of the gambling match. In the rigged gambling match, when a lot of adharma was taking place, Bhishma Dev did not speak up. And so he was confident that he will not speak up on the battlefield as well, and he was hoping that Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya will not speak up against their actions just as they did in the gambling match, and even here they will give their full support to Duryodhana. So he's keeping on trying to inflate and to lift all the heroes in his side of the army. And the final one he says that everyone is important. Like, you don't think that just because I am praising Bhishma Dev, that means all of you are not important. No, all of you are very important. You all have to support Bhishma Dev because he is the key to our success and we need to protect him. Okay? So if you look at the breakdown of each of the lines of the verse, it says, Ayanyeshu Chasarvishu, meaning all of you, wherever your position, Yatha Bhagam Avasthitam, situated in your respective parts of the battlefield, what do you do? Bhishma Eva Vilakshantu, protect Bhishma from your positions. And Bhavanta Sarva Evahi. Now the word Bhavanta is like a very respectful word to address a second person. Like in Hindi, when we address a second person, we say tu. Tu is a very informal way of saying you. But if you want to say it a bit more formally, you say up. Tu or up. Like that, up is also addressing the second person, but in a more respectful way. So like that, Bhavanta is a very respectful word that Duryodhana uses to basically address all the other heroes on the battlefield and trying to get them fired up by making them feel important. That no, we have to do our duty. We have to make sure that we do not break our military formation so that we can best protect Vishnu. Okay? Now, because this is the end of what Duryodhana is going to speak, let us have an understanding behind the purpose of Duryodhana's speech. From 1.3 to 1.11, let us understand the purposes of his speech. So the first purpose of his speech is that he wants to mask his own fears. He speaks in a very diplomatic way to try and show that he is not afraid. To try and show that, oh, my side is guaranteed to be victorious. But as we saw in the previous verses, that he kept on mentioning Bhima's name. Although Bhima is not the most formidable opponent in the opposing army, still for him it represented death. He knew that if he had to die at all, he would die at the hands of Bhima. So he was naturally fearful of Bhima the most. Even though Arjuna was the most formidable warrior and Krishna was there on the other side. Still, Duryodhana's focus was on Bhima. Next, he also made a slip of tongue where he said that all the people who have come to fight for me, that they are going to give up their lives. As he said, we read yesterday, Dokta Jivitaha. Okay? Then another purpose of his speech is that he wanted to firm up any remaining loyalty in his camp, to make sure that they are fighting for his cause and they are fighting wholeheartedly. So he had suspicions that some people in his camp are not going to be fighting with full vigor. And those are the two most senior fighters, Bhishmadev and Dronacharya. So he tackles Dronacharya by trying to shift his focus from the side of affection, which is the Pandavas, to the side of his enemy, which is Drupad. And he tries to firm up the loyalty of Bhishma by giving him importance, by making him feel that, no, without you, we cannot do anything. You are the center of our army. You are the most important person. So he's trying to please the egos of both Bhishmadev and Dronacharya. Then we also see that he's trying to make everyone feel important. Yeah? As we see that he's a very master diplomat. He's trying to make everyone feel important and at the same time keep Bhishmadev's position as the highest in this verse. So he says that we all have to be under Bhishmadev. He is going to protect us. He is going to guide us to victory as our commander-in-chief. But that doesn't mean that we cannot protect the protector of this army. We have to become the protectors of our commander-in-chief. Because if he falls, then it's like a headless chicken. Right? What happens in war is that when the opponent kills the king or kills the commander-in-chief, then all the soldiers, they don't have any authority to look up to. So then they lose all their morale. And so even though they might be in greater numbers, because that the commander-in-chief has fallen or the king has fallen, there's panic, there's chaos, and there's disarrangement of the army. So what Duryodhana is trying to say is that no, we should not let anything happen to Bhishma. So you are very important to protect Bhishma, and in return, Bhishmadev is such an experienced general that he will direct us and guide us to victory in the battlefield. So he is trying to appease all the other heroes by addressing their ego, by saying that, oh, you are also brilliant heroes. You need to protect the protector. Okay? Now how can we apply this in our life? We can apply this in our life because sometimes we have two things in us. We have our intelligence and we have our consciousness. Now, our intelligence is supposed to guide our consciousness. And it is supposed to protect our consciousness. Like we know that there's an exam coming up. I need to revise. My intelligence is telling me that I need to prepare for my exams. But if your consciousness is always going to be destructive, like playing video games, for example, then your intelligence is meant to protect your consciousness. It's meant to protect you from doing to focus you on doing the right thing. But if you let your consciousness loose, then it will slowly chip away at the intelligence. It will be like, okay, the consciousness is not listening to the intelligence anymore. And so what will happen is, you will fail. So there's a two-way street between the intelligence and the consciousness. The intelligence is supposed to protect the consciousness, and at the same time, the consciousness is supposed to protect the intelligence by making it more aware. So the way to explain it as well is think that there is a field, and in the field is the field of consciousness, and there is a security guard outside the field, which is intelligence. Now the intelligence has to be quite observant. It has to be quite conscious about who is entering the field. Who am I letting inside the field? Am I letting a friend? Am I letting a spy? Or am I letting in an enemy? So if the intelligence is not conscious, if the intelligence is not observant, then it's not doing its job properly. And if consciousness is not helping the intelligence, or it's not making the intelligence being more observable, then of course it is going to be looted. The field will be spoiled, it will be overrun. So that is an example of how the protector has to be protected at times. Then another lesson that we can learn from Duryodhana's speech is that Duryodhana, if you just look at his words, they seem to be of a very, very high nature. They seem to be of an expert person. So sometimes we also can get carried away. People read this side of Duryodhana and they think that, oh, he's such a master strategist, he's such a master politician, so he must be an expert. So if he's an expert, he must be good. There's already that link that if somebody is good at something, then that, or an expert at something, that person is naturally good. But what actually makes a person good is not his skills, it's not his abilities, it's the intention with which he utilizes his skills and abilities. If somebody is an eloquent speaker and then he speaks on promoting harmful products, then he's doing so much harm to the society because he's got this ability of eloquent speech and the power of speech to convince so many people that so many people, just by hearing him, by admiring his skills, will then start following the bad things that he is promoting. So you have to be very strict and very aware that do not fall into the trap that thinking that people who are expert at juggling their words to be really intelligent people. Actually, it says in the Bhagavatam that one of the signs of Kali Yuga is that people who are expert at word jugglery, they will be considered to be very intelligent. Even there was this one documentary that I was watching at one time, and it was about the 2008 financial crisis. And in that documentary, there was a very nice ending that was said that all the bankers create such big terms to try and confuse the public to think that only they can do what they do, that the normal public cannot understand how the banking industry works. So they intentionally introduce such technical and made up words. It sounds very scientific, it sounds very much sophisticated, that it is outside the reach of the common person's understanding of the financial markets. And so they are hoping that by doing word jugglery, by making something seem to be such high level that you will just leave them alone and they can do whatever they want to do. So this happens in Kali. Yeah, there's so many examples of many so-called spiritual leaders who try and speak philosophy in such a high way, in a convoluted manner, that it seems that they appear to have grasped a very abstract concept. And you listen to them and you'll be like, it doesn't make sense to me, but whatever he's saying, it seems nice. And so he must be very knowledgeable. So we see this happening in this day and age, that people are so good at word juggling, and we think that, oh, they must be very intelligent. No, we don't have to fall into the trap. Even Duryodhana was like that. He was an expert at word juggling. He was an expert at using words to manipulate so many people. But his intention was what? With all his manipulation, with all his conspiracies, with all his schemes, what was he trying to do? He was only causing more and more harm and violence to the Pandavas. Right? So the intention behind all his schemes, no matter how sophisticated his speech was, it just had a very detrimental intention behind it. So that's another thing that we can learn. That don't fall in the trap by getting into somebody else's flowery language. Yeah? You have to keep your intelligence and try to discern fact from fiction. Yes? Actually, even in so many self-help books, there is a very famous person, and he said that it pays to be dumb. Yeah, it pays to be dumb. When somebody is explaining something to you, don't be afraid to play dumb. Try to ask them to explain things to you as if you are a child. Because when you ask in that manner, you'll be able to very easily figure out whether what this person is saying, has he got a good understanding of the subject or not. Because if somebody has a good understanding of the subject, he will be able to explain any subject to any level of audience. Yeah? So you should not be afraid of appearing dumb. Always questioning why. Why? This is what kids do. Kids are very curious. They always keep on asking why. And sometimes we don't know, because we don't know the reasons why we believe what we believe. We just believe based on traditions that, oh, this is why we do this, or this is why we do this. But we never inquire why. The children are a clean slate. They always want to know. They want to make sense of the world. And the only way you can make sense of the world is if you keep on asking why. And this is also why certain scientists have become famous in the world, because they have never stopped asking the question, why? Curiosity is there for a reason. It is existing because there is a reason for it to exist. Yeah? I think that is a quote by Albert Einstein. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. Yeah? So we have to utilize this to be able to cut through the flowery language that people try to speak to us, to try and deduce us, to try to throw us off guard. But we have to not get swayed. Yeah? Now in this verse also, there is a lot of mention of, there is a mention of Bhishma Deva. So Bhishma Deva has been mentioned in the last verse as well as this verse. So let us try to understand the glory of Bhishma Deva here. So now Bhishma Deva, he was not at all like feeling that he wanted to fight the war. Right? He was fighting the war reluctantly. He had very much affection for the Pandavas, and he wanted that the Pandavas actually win. due to some circumstance, he had to fight for the side of the Kauravas. But even then, he fought because he was a pure devotee of the Lord. And so he wanted to engage in a relationship with the Lord known as Virya Bhava, meaning in the mood of fighting, of chivalry. That is a mood that Krishna wants to fight. But who can fight Krishna? Only a devotee of Krishna can fight with him. And so Vishwadev was put on the opposing army so that Krishna could have this rasa of Virya Bhava, or this mellow, or this pastime of fighting. And so, for the first 8 days, Vishwadev was not particularly very strong in his fighting. And Duryodhana was getting upset with Vishwadev. He's like, it's been 8 days and you have not killed any of the Pandavas. So Duryodhana said very harsh words to Vishwadev. And so Vishwadev took it as, okay, now he has challenged me. My own commander or my own leader has challenged me that I am not fighting to the best of my abilities. So he tells Duryodhana that here, take these 5 arrows. These 5 arrows I will take from, these 5 arrows are the ones that will kill the Pandavas tomorrow. And Duryodhana says, okay, give them to me and then on the battlefield I'll give it back to you. And said, okay, fine. So then Duryodhana took all the 5 arrows that Vishwadev had pointed that would be the cause of the Pandavas' death. And so when Krishna got wind of this knowledge, then Krishna said to Arjuna, Arjuna, do you remember the time when you saved Duryodhana from the king of the Gandharvas? So one time during the exile, Duryodhana wanted to flaunt his wealth in front of the Pandavas. So when the Pandavas were in exile, they were in some forest. And Duryodhana wanted to set up base next to where the Pandavas were staying and basically show off that now I am the emperor of the world. What do you have? I have taken everything from you. So then Duryodhana went there, and then on the way there is a lake. There was a lake and he wanted to sport in the lake. But what happened is, at the same lake, there was a king of the Gandharvas who was sporting there with his consorts. And so then there came a tussle between the Gandharvas and Duryodhana. And because the Gandharvas are of the heavenly, the celestial beings, they basically overpowered Duryodhana and took him hostage. And when the soldiers of the Kaurava army ran towards Yudhishthira Maharaj, saying that, oh my God, King Duryodhana has been arrested by the king of the Gandharvas, Bhima was very happy. He's like, whatever we wanted to accomplish has been easily accomplished by the Gandharvas. Now we don't need to fight them. And then Yudhishthira said, no. When it is an internal matter, it's 100 versus 5. But when an external party comes and fights against the Kurus, then it's 105 versus that those outsiders. So you go and rescue Duryodhana. Yudhishthira Maharaj had ordered Bhima and Arjuna. And so Arjuna easily defeated the king of the Gandharvas, and he released Duryodhana. And so Duryodhana, to show his gratitude towards Arjuna, had told Arjuna that you can ask for me for one boon and I will give it to you. And Arjuna said, okay, thank you very much. And so Krishna knew this. So Krishna tells Arjuna, remember the boon that Duryodhana gave you? He said, yeah, I do remember it. Now you go to Duryodhan, after the fighting finishes at sunset, then both the armies are on their camps. There is no fighting during the night. And so he tells Arjuna, go to Duryodhan's camp and ask for those 5 arrows that are kept aside by Bhishmadev. And so Arjuna goes there to Duryodhan's camp and he asks Duryodhan, remember the time I saved you from the king of Gandharvas? And Duryodhan was a bit blushing, like not blushing, but was a bit embarrassed, like he remembered. He said, yes, I do remember. And Arjuna said, you remember I asked for you said that I can ask for you for a boon. He said, yes. So can you please give me the 5 arrows that Bhishmadev had given to you? And so Duryodhan had to give the 5 arrows that Bhishmadev had set aside to Arjuna. And so Bhishmadev heard this and he started laughing. He started, oh my, this is how Krishna stays his devotees. Krishna can play with so many different leelas to try and save his own devotee. But Bhishmadev said, that is not so easy. Now I take a vow that either I will kill Arjuna tomorrow or I will force Krishna to lift a weapon in the war. Because Krishna had promised that he will not take up arms. So now it's whose vow is more important? Is Krishna's vow more important or is Bhishma's vow more important? Because Bhishma is also a devotee of Krishna. So in the 9th day of the battle, Bhishma Pitama came out in such fury. So on the external, it seemed like he was fighting with full valor, but inside he was just waiting to reciprocate with Krishna. He couldn't wait to come face to face with Krishna to see what will Krishna do. Will Krishna save Arjuna and break his promise, or will he honor my promise and take up arms and fight against me? So this is Virya Bhava. This is the relationship that Bhishmadev had with Lord Krishna. And so when Bhishmadev was continuously firing arrows with such great speed, even Arjuna wasn't able to handle it. And at that time, Krishna basically jumped down from the chariot, took out the wheel of a chariot, of a light chariot, and lifted it up like his Sudarshan Chakra, and was rushing towards Bhishmadev. And at that sight, Bhishmadev put his weapons down, because he's like, what more glorious death will I get to be killed at the hands of the Almighty himself? So at that point, Arjuna jumps off his chariot and is running behind Krishna. He falls at the feet of Krishna. Please don't kill Bhishmadev. You have promised that you are not going to take up any arms in the war. You are going to be like, your fame will be reduced to ashes. That you are breaking your own promise. And then Krishna says, I don't care about my promise. I care more about saving my devotee's life and keeping the word of my devotee. And that is why in the Gita, Krishna specifically tells Arjuna to declare it, that my devotee never perishes. My devotee will never perish. Because if Krishna had said in the Gita that I am telling you that my devotee never perishes, people will be like, what is your word worth? You have broken your word. You have broken your vow. You said that you are not going to pick up a weapon on the battlefield, and yet you did. So what is the worth of your vow? What is the worth of your word? But if your devotee says something, then you are bound to honor whatever your devotee has said. And you are never going to break your devotee's vow. You are never going to break your devotee's oath. And so this shows Krishna's Bhakta Vatsalta. His unbound love towards his devotee. So Although externally, Duryodhana was so happy to see this, but the reason is not that Bhishmadev was affected by Duryodhana's harsh words against him. No, he was having his own internal relationship with Krishna. And this cannot be understood when you just read the Mahabharata. For that you need to deep dive into the secrets, into the jewels of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto, chapter 9, where the true glory of Vishwadev is highlighted. Yeah? That is why he is considered to be a Mahajan. If you look at Bhishma Pitama's life, there was nothing too great about it, but his greatness was then highlighted by Krishna at the end of his life, when everyone got to know as to how deep and pure a devotee Bhishma actually was. So on the surface, he did not seem to be a great devotee, but at the end of the life, it naturally comes out. Krishna naturally gives all glory to his devotee. You know, just like, how many of you have seen a sugarcane juice machine? You know, you put the rod inside the machine. What does the machine do? It squeezes the rod so much that all the juice comes out. Now, inside the rod of the sugarcane, there's only sugarcane juice will come out. It's not that you put the rod in and orange juice will come out. Yeah? Whatever is in the rod, when it is crushed, whatever is inside will come outside. And so at the end of life, at the time of death, when you are going to be crushed by the wheel of death, then all that we have accumulated, all the consciousness that we have developed in our life, it will all come crushing out. You might make a show that, oh, I'm a devotee. You might pretend to be a devotee, but internally there is no change. And so when death comes, you will be tested. All your devotion, all your bhakti will be tested at the time of death. Because at that time there is no escape. Whatever is inside will show outside. You cannot claim to be a sugarcane juice when inside you are just an orange juice. Yeah? At the end, you know, as it says, there's a thing, "Doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani." Yeah? You will get to know the difference. So this is what we can understand, the glories of Vishwadev. And so from tomorrow we will start from text number 12 and move forward with that. Anyone has any questions? Any comments?
I just have a small question. I don't know if it is within the topic, but first thank you for the wonderful class. It was like counting the Mahabharata. It was so busy. And then now my question is the first one. I just wanted you to explain for me a little bit what are the Gadar verse. You know, Gadar verse. The Gadar verse.
Third verse. The
That
third
one.
Yeah.
My question is, my actual question is, you see, when I read the verses in the Shikshastra, yeah, I see like there is the emphasis on the devotees to be tolerant, but when I see Krishna talking to Arjuna, it's like he's telling me, Arjuna, fight. So I'm just help me understand
So-
to understand that.
So when it says that you have to be more tolerant than a blade of grass, it means that you have to be tolerant towards all the wrongdoings done towards you,
Yes.
but not wrongdoings done towards the devotees of the Lord. Yeah? When somebody is blaspheming a devotee of the Lord and you do not get angry, then you are basically encouraging that behavior. And when you encourage that behavior, what is happening is first, your consciousness will get contaminated, and two, that person is going more and more into material contamination. So when it says that you have to be more tolerant to the tree, it means that you have to be tolerant that what other people do towards you. That's what it means. Yeah, it says you should give all respect to others, but not expect anything in return. You are not putting any expectation of other people to do anything good for you. You have to keep on doing good for everyone. So you need tolerance. You need respect. You need to give more respect. You need to be humble. Because these are what will help you achieve spiritual progress very fast. But this is only towards you, not towards another devotee or another. If somebody else comes and starts to blessing another devotee, if you do not get angry, then there is something wrong with you. Like I'll give an example in the Ramayana. Hanumanji utilized his anger. And he utilized the anger in the right way. Because Ravan was blaspheming Vibhishan, Sita Mata, and all, and Ram Bhagwan, everyone. So he was blaspheming all the people. And so Hanuman remained tolerant. No, he burnt down Lanka. He burnt down Lanka. So he was utilizing his anger in the right way. Right? But for he himself personally, he was not angry for himself. He was angry for the service of Lord Ram. Like that. Okay, so that verse of the Shishtashtakam is to apply to yourself. If somebody says something bad to you, tolerate it. Somebody else, who is a devotee or anyone else, I hope that helps. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.